Hi, welcome to today's how-to video. Today we're going to discuss how to set up an MQTT client to connect through to an MQTT broker. Step 1, let's just check that we have the appropriate licenses enabled. So go to your license manager and have a look through here and see if we have an MQTT client plugin enabled. Now we're going to create a new data source to connect to that MQTT client. In the list, select MQTT client as a plugin type and click Save. Right, now that we've created our MQTT client plugin, we're going to configure it to point at an MQTT broker on the internet. I'm just going to use a freely available one for testing. I'm just going to put the details in here. We're going to set a connection time of 1 minute and a reconnect time of 30 seconds. We don't have any authentication on this connection or certificates, so it's not a secure connection, but we're going to ask for a clean session every time we connect. We're going to register for topics to be subscribed to, and we're going to create our own topic of subtopic of INDICIUM, and we're going to leave the quality of service on at least once. So we'll save that. Okay, now we've got our plugin configured. We're going to set up an input item. We're going to do this manually to start with, and then later on in the video we're going to talk about how to do that automatically. Let's create a new input item and we'll call it test. And in here we're going to set a device topic of test topic / INDICIUM / test. And we'll save that. We're going to set our data collection mode to subscription so that we're notified of new data coming in on the MQTT channel. And for testing purposes, we're going to create a pipeline that will log the data to our console so that we can visualize the data coming in. So we're just going to add a logging pipeline item and hit save. So we've set up our pipeline, but that pipeline hasn't been enabled yet. So let's just pop in here and enable our logging pipeline. And while we're at it, we'll jump back to the data source and enable the input item called test. Okay, let's open up our console now and have a look at the debug output from the databus. While that's running, I'm just going to jump over to our test client on the internet, and I'm going to send a message through to the topic that we registered. And there we go. We can see test message come through there. It's a JSON payload with a value of 100 in there. I'm just going to send the same type of message again, but change the value to 101. There we go. Data's coming through. Now we want to look at how we can extract from that JSON message the values that we require. Okay, now to extract the data out of the JSON packet, let's create a new subscription pipeline under the input item, and we'll call it extract and log. We're going to use the JSON extract plugin this time to extract the data from the JSON packet. Now the packet stored the data as payload, so we're going to just put in here payload. and we're expecting it to be an integer. Now we're going to log that extracted value to the console. Now we also need to make sure that our pipeline is enabled, and we're going to disable the original pipeline so that we don't have both logging at the same time. So we'll just disable that, and then we'll jump across to our console and see if that worked. I'm now going to push some messages down, and we should see the payload get extracted from the JSON message. There we go, we sent a message with a payload of 101. Let's send 102, and we can see the data is coming through as expected. Okay, we're going to jump back into the user interface now, and we're going to change our extract and log pipeline to include archiving the data to a local database. We don't have a endpoint set up for local DB yet, so let's go over here and create a new data source called local DB. Select local DB from our list of plugins and click Save. We'll now jump back into our MQTT client, select our extract and log function, and we're going to add local DB as an endpoint. We're just going to append messages as they come in, and we're going to use the output items identifier to identify the data we're saving. We're doing that because we're extracting values from the JSON message, so we've kind of customized the data, and this identifier will be more applicable. So we'll hit save. We'll jump into local DB here and have a look at its configuration, and we can see that the test data is now flowing through as a reverse mapping. If we jump in here, and we need to configure a period first, so let's just say today. Okay, now that we've got that data being piped into the local DB, let's open up our local database, and we now notice that we've already automatically had the input item mapping created to pull data out. Let's just select that, and we'll come in here and we'll see that the URI has been set, including the extract and log and local DB plugin specified. We've set a period for today, so now let's run our test, and we can see that there are 3 values have been archived into the database. I'm just going to, behind the scenes, publish another value through, and we're going to test again and see that a new value has been archived in the database. So that's a quick example of how to set up MQTT to extract data from a broker, and just a quick example of logging that to the local database. Our next video will be on how to use our inbuilt automation features to automate the setup of new devices, new topics coming in from an MQTT broker, and how we can manipulate data such as encoded payloads from IoT devices.